This episode is brought to you by Global X. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been committed to empowering investors with unexplored, intelligent solutions. Global X specializes in exchange-traded funds that offer exposure to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, including themes like data centers, robotics, semiconductors, and cloud computing. To learn more about Global X's entire suite of ETFs, from covered calls, fixed income, emerging markets, and more, visit globalxetfs.com.
It's time for basketball, and Uber Eats is dropping deals on game day favorites to keep you locked in on the action. Like when you're craving a buzzer beater, but also buffalo wings. Or when an upset makes you want to ugly cry into a pizza. And right now, Uber Eats has game day deals from Burger King, Buffalo Wild Wings, KFC, and hundreds more local favorites. So you can keep your eyes on the ball and your hands on a burger. Order now, only on Uber Eats. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got Stefan de Vreese coming out of Belgium, and today he's going to talk to us all about AI business automation expert and any entrepreneurs that are interested in business automation that is AI-driven, process optimization, systemization, and talking about AI, business efficiency, and automation tools. Stefan is our guest, and I'm really happy to have him on and pick his brain. So, Stefan, welcome.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Briefly introduce yourself, and we'll dive right into the questions.
So my name is Stefan de Vreese. I'm Belgian, born and raised here. And as we talked a little bit before the recording, I've been an entrepreneur since 2006. I graduated, and I think I worked 1 year for a boss. And then I said, I don't want a boss. I don't want it. I want to be my own boss. I want to build my own stuff. And since then, I've done a lot of businesses. I had my own computer store. I built a marketing agency, a web design agency. Then I did a lot of freelancing, a lot of Microsoft 365 freelancing. Then when COVID hit, everything changed. I think for a lot of people, a lot of things changed. In the meantime, I also came out of the closet. There was a lot going on at that time. And then I decided to jump back into the digital space. I created a business coaching business. But honestly, Christopher, for all that time in my whole career as an entrepreneur, most of the time I was actually just optimizing and streamlining business processes. That's what I love to do. That's what I know how to do. And I just love to be just very efficient in everything that we do. And since the end of 2023, that's where I started Titanify, which is my current business. And was really, everybody always looks for something as an entrepreneur that will make them successful. And I think I really found it with Titanify because the demand of what we do is so big. So everybody needs what we have. Everybody needs to optimize their business. Everybody needs to automate. And especially now with AI coming around the corner, everybody wants to include AI, but nobody really knows how to do it in an efficient way, in a practical way that will actually help their business. And that's what we do. So a lot of people come to us, and I'm very happy about it. And here we are, and now more than a year, almost a year later, and we've built a 6-figure business, and we keep growing every day.
Yeah, really interesting. Very interesting. And so we'll dive right into the questions. And for some of the audience-driven questions for business owners and entrepreneurs, talk about what are the best AI tools for automating business processes.
Ooh, that's a good question. There's so many tools out there to automate business processes. The most commonly known is, of course, like Zapier and Make.com. And those were the tools that we used from the beginning, and we're still using them. But honestly, more and more, since we are, of course, Microsoft 365 fans and experts, we try to use Power Automate as much as we can. Because Power Automate is like Zapier and Make.com in a sense, but it lives within the Microsoft 365 environment. And we love to use that one because it's by default, it takes the security level of Microsoft 365, right? Whereas Zapier and Make.com, you have your own accounts and those kind of tools. and you're just hoping that Zapier and Make.com are as secure as Microsoft. And since we're working with a lot of people, a lot of businesses that are already on Microsoft 365, it just makes a lot of sense to use something like Power Automate. And while it's not always as user-friendly as these other tools, it is very robust. And you have Microsoft as a backbone company. It gives you the kind of support and stability that you need to really build something future-proof, something that is secure towards the future as well. And it can do more advanced things than any other tool that is out there. There's the combination that it's already there. If you have a Microsoft 365 license, it's already there. Those are really big plus points for using something like Power Automate. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And then a follow-up question I have for you is, because you talk about Microsoft 365 automation and why Microsoft? I know they do a lot of, but how does Microsoft 365 support business automation?
Yeah, because there is no alternative to Microsoft 365. If you look at what Microsoft 365 allows you to do from a platform perspective, you have Word, Excel, of course, everybody knows that. You have Outlook, but you also have SharePoint, you have Teams, you have Power Automate. You can build apps with Power Apps. You can do Purview to do data loss prevention, information protection. All of that is within the Microsoft 365 platform, the environment. So if you look around and if you look at other companies like Google, like Apple, there is nothing like Microsoft 365. So as a company, if you want to streamline your operations, you really have to make a decision here, like, okay, which tools are you going to use, right? And if you're a company and you're looking at your tech stack, all the tools that you're using, and you have now maybe 20 tools that you're using, so that might mean 20 different licenses, 20 different logins, 20 different ways to integrate with these tools. You have to integrate all of the tools with each other as well. That's a huge workload to optimize, streamline all of these processes. So if you then look at Microsoft 365, where with one license, you have all the tools that you need to run your company, to be honest, it's all automatically integrated. It's by default, it's integrated with each other, right? And you can, on top of that solid foundation, where you can store documents, where you can communicate with each other, where you can just do anything in that environment. And on top of that, you can add Power Automate to automate all the processes that are linking information with each other. You can move files around automatically. If you connect it with Outlook, if an email comes in, you can automatically use AI to go through the email, and you can extract the information. You can put it into, for instance, into SharePoint, into a list, or you add it into Dynamics 365 for sales, for example. That's your CRM tool. So you can do all of that, and you don't need 20 different licenses, 20 different accounts. You just use your Microsoft 365 license and you're good to go. That by itself is a huge saving of time and money there, right? And again, because Microsoft 365 is a specific tenant for each business, you do everything within your own tenant. So so if you look at the security of your data, your information, it lives within that tenant. So anything that you integrate with each other, it's still within the same tenant. So it's less prone to security breaches or data loss and so on, because it stays within your tenant. Because if you look at then Zapier or Make.com and you try to integrate that with any other tool like with Google Drive and so on, you're sending the information to Zapier. You're sending all that information to them to then go back to Google or to any other tool. So those kind of extra connections, they are not contained in any security. So that's why we love using Microsoft 365, because it's all integrated with each other. And looking at, again, that you can do document management and communication. So you have a Google Drive and a Slack, where you can do that in 365 with Teams, all in one place. That's a huge time saver right there. Mm-hmm. And there is no alternative. If you look at any other company, there is no alternative to 365. And even the biggest Apple fans tell me, like, yeah, you're right. There's no alternative. So for companies that are really looking for a future-proof way to scale their systems and their processes, you have to look at 365.
Interesting. Delving more into that, what common business tasks for business owners and entrepreneurs can be fully automated with AI?
There are the most common ones, and the most popular ones is like automated lead generation, right? So you can really automate the lead generation process by going into LinkedIn. You can automate connection requests, and if somebody accepts a connection request, it can be automatically added into your CRM, for example. That's one of the things that we do a lot. Other things are project management processes. So what we see a lot is businesses already have maybe existing ERP softwares or other tools that they're using, but they still want to centralize the information about all of that, all of the tools that they're using. Sometimes they are construction companies that are working with a very specific ERP software for their industry, but they still want to have a user-friendly way of displaying all that information for their end users, for the normal people on the ground floor that they need that information. So we extract that information, we put that into 365, for example. That's another example. We can trigger a lot of things. So if a project reaches a certain status, it can send out notifications, it can update ERP software, it can do a lot of things. So that's also a big part of a lot of businesses, project management. What do we get also is CRM, right? Is really building an automated AI-driven CRM where you can do that within Dynamics 365, which is like a Power App made by Microsoft, put on top of 365. So if you get that package, if you get that software, that license for that tool, you immediately get a full-blown CRM tool that is AI driven already, right? So we recommend doing that because it automatically integrates with Outlook, for example. So if it's about like following up with your customers, it's about small marketing campaigns, automated email sequences, and so on, you can do all of that within the 365 stack as well. Other processes is document management, of course. A lot of the stuff that we do is about document management, it's about internal communication, external communication, building intranets. There's a lot of stuff that we can really put into this. But I would say those are the most common ones that we get along the way. But yeah, there are more specific processes for sure that we can tackle as well. But I would say those are the most common ones, yeah.
Interesting. And what I really love is because a lot of business owners, they're entrepreneurs, they're more strategy and there's more marketing. And so how would business owners or entrepreneurs implement these tools, tactics, and strategies in their business without technical expertise? So, because it sounds like a lot of, you require a lot of these skills that, the audience and listeners may not have.
Mm-hmm. I would say the good thing is that we can do that for you. But other than that, I would say you have to start indeed with a strategy about what do you want to really achieve here. Many businesses, when they start building their business after a couple of years, they have grown into a certain way of working, right? They have used a lot of tools. They have their own processes and possibly it's working well, right? Good. But in many cases, if you ask a business owner, okay, so what's your process? What is your customer journey? Give me a step-by-step visualization of your customer journey, of your lead generation process. I would say 90% cannot answer that question. They know it, that it's in their head, the process is in their head, but not a lot of people actually visualize the actual process that they're using. So if you want to start somewhere, you start there. You start really with visualizing the process that you're using right now, that you're doing right now in your business. Because if you do that, and this is honestly the first step that we do with every customer, if you do that, you will quickly see where there are gaps. where there is stuff that, oh my God, you're really doing it this way? Like you're copying lead data manually from LinkedIn into your CRM, for example. That might be your process. Fine. But if you really realize, if you look at that and you realize that you're doing that, you might ask yourself, is there really no better way to do this? And probably there is a better way to do that, right? And that is about automating, about systemizing, optimizing these kind of processes. So I would say with anybody, any business owner that doesn't really have technical knowledge or the know-how, or they just don't know what is out there, that's fine. But start with just visualizing your process. Once you have that, then ask maybe a technical person, an IT person, somebody that has a little bit of knowledge about what is out there, like what kind of tools would you use for this process? What kind of tools would you use for this process? Too many businesses just look at the tool and they say, yeah, this is what I want. This is what I need. But they forget that if they take on a specific tool, they need to fit it into their process. And if it's not fitting into that process, then they start changing the process because of the tool. And maybe that's not a good thing to do. Maybe that's definitely a pitfall that we see a lot of times, that people just the shiny object syndrome. They see a new tool, oh, they need to get it. Yeah, it's going to work. This is going to work better than the other ones because of what? Because it's a new tool. But you don't even know how your own process looks like. So I would say start there.
Yeah, interesting. The next question is, now that we can start playing around and looking at these different tools and how to implement AI automation, and so what would the first step for people listening be to systemize and automate their businesses? What would you recommend?
I would really look at what is the process that would save you the most time, possibly save you the most money, or you could look at it the other way. What is some of the processes that could gain more customers, that would gain more revenue if you do it well? Could be lead generation again. But you have to think about, with the minimal amount of effort, what is the biggest improvement that I can make for my business, right? And I always talk about, just look at a day-to-day basis. What do you do almost every day in a manual fashion? Do you really copy something every single day, a document, data? Are you sending out emails every single day to the same person? Stuff like that. If you want to check in with your team, for example, are you really sending emails every single day to your team to ask them to give you an update? These kind of stuff. If that is something that is common every single day, that happens again and again, then you can ask yourself, maybe I should start there, because if I don't have to do that myself anymore, or if we can just eliminate some of these brainless chores, what could I do with the time that I gain back? What would my team be able to do with the time that I get back? I would be able to do more sales, for example. I would be able to do more marketing. So it will give me more business in return, right? That's where I really recommend people to look at, first of all. And there's probably plenty of things that people do every single time, again and again, just because the habit, and they don't even think about it anymore. In some cases, there are people that were hired just to copy data from one Excel to another. I'm not joking. And these are people are there, and then, yeah, it works. But not the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So a follow-up question I have for you is, we'll talk about the future of AI in business to conclude everything. I wanted to touch about marketing and AI adoption. And in your opinion, how do AI and automation, how will they impact digital marketing in 2025?
In a big way, I think, right? Because in many cases, the stuff that is getting thrown out there, LinkedIn, for example, none of it is AI generated. And you can see it from miles away that it's AI generated. And marketing agencies, with all due respect, but that's what they sell to companies. They sell content packages and whatnot, and then they just let ChatGPT produce these content pieces and then they just publish. That shouldn't be the way, right? I believe that if you want to use AI for your marketing purposes, for your marketing processes, you should use it. By all means, you should use ChatGPT or Copilot or any other AI tool to give you the drafts of your content. And then you should tweak them, right? Anyway, I think it's a big deal for sure for AI to be part of the marketing process in terms of content creation, in terms of imagery, the videos, just also social selling and so on. That is being automated these days as well. There's a lot of stuff that AI can really help us with to generate a lot of these pieces of content, for example. And for small business owners, that is really very good, very beneficial because they don't need to pay somebody extra. They don't need to spend hours to generate content. The downside is, again, all of it is becoming the same stuff, the same type of stuff, the same type of these kind of bullet point lists with all of these icons. Everybody can really see right now. I truly believe everybody can see from miles away what is AI generated and what is not. So it has big impact, and unfortunately not always the good impact that it should have. But in other cases, for small business owners, it could be a good thing because they can, again, save a lot of time. But use it in a way, I would say, that it cuts back the time that it takes you to create something, but at the same time, add some human element into it. So otherwise, you're just showing that to everybody that you can work with ChatGPT. But are you actually telling your audience what you really are thinking about, the human stuff? Honestly, that's why I love to do these kind of things, the podcasts and just creating my own videos. Because while you could do it also with AI, really showing what you do in your business, showing actually what is the results. Like I am showing how I built my automations. That is not something that I can ask AI to produce for me, right? So that genuine part of marketing, I think, should still be there because the danger is that if you just let it up to AI to create all of it, I'm not sure if that will create an all-like trust for your business that you really need. So that's what I think.
Yeah. And along the same lines, how do AI automation and how do traditional business automation differ?
It depends on from which perspective that you look at it, of course. From my perspective, it's all about processes, operational processes like marketing processes, project management, and so on. What I'm talking about is not something like robots in a factory line and so on, assembling stuff. That's a whole other thing. Probably other people more experienced and experts in that. But if I'm looking at what has been seen as automation and what is now AI automation, honestly, there's not big of a difference if you look at it. What I perceive as AI automation is actually the same automations that were happening before, but now we're including AI to help us extract information, for example. Where you used to do that, you used to do extracting of information from a document, from an email to automation. You could already do that without AI, but you would have to really create a lot of scripting, a lot of variables and so on. It was a lot of coding. Whereas now with AI, you just ask AI, extract this type of information in one line with natural language, and it gives you the same result. So from that perspective, for people that are building automations, it's a huge deal because you really can save a lot of time with that. Now, is it accurate? It's not 100% accurate. So you will still have to do some checks and so on. But we use AI all the time in our automations because it saves us time, because it is an element that now that we can use it, it's just as any other action that you can add to an automation. Now you add the AI action, and it's an improvement for sure for your automation. So if you're looking at what it used to be, what it is right now, it's an enhancement of what has already been done for years and years. And even AI has been around for many years. Now we really see the practical implementation, application of AI. So I think it's really a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah. And then another question I have for you is the future of AI in business, and what industries are poised to benefit the most from AI business automation?
That's a good question. Which industry?
This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Knowledge workers. Knowledge workers. Every business that needs to work with a lot of information, a lot of documents, I would say that kind of industry will benefit the most, because most of these businesses, their core business is to generate information, reports, and all of these kind of things. And they used to have a full team of people on a specific project just to generate reports. While now you can use AI, you can actually bypass almost 10 people to do that. So I think if you look at it for the future, any business that is working with a lot of data, a lot of documents, reporting, business intelligence, everything with data, I would say, will benefit the most from the AI revolution, for sure, because what AI can generate in terms of reports, analysis from millions of documents in just a couple of seconds sometimes, that's a revolution for businesses where that's their core business. So I would say those ones will be benefited the most. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really the final question I have for you, because everybody's afraid of AI. And so is basically AI going to just make jobs obsolete, or are they going to create new opportunities for entrepreneurs? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I love this question because it's such a controversial thing to talk about, where indeed a lot of people might think that AI will steal your job. And the way that I see it is a little bit the way that people like Gary Vaynerchuk talk about this as well, where he said, look, when television came about, or all the people that were doing radio or so on, they were also maybe saying, okay, television will take my job, or stuff like that. Like, if you are working in a specific job right now that AI could do, should you be scared of your job? Sure. But at the same time, it's an opportunity to think about, what else can I do? Or can I transition myself in my position to something that is working with AI, instead of just hoping that AI will not take my job? If you're just waiting and hoping that it will not take your job, then you're in a bad position. You need to really think ahead, and you need to think about the future. If my job, like content writers, for example, or social media companies and so on, if AI can create all of these pieces themselves, why would they choose you as a company? Like, you have maybe extra services, added value that you can add to what AI is already doing. Maybe you're an AI advisor at some point, instead of just creating the content. So you have to look at it like that. If you look at it like that, you will see the opportunity. You will not see the danger, but you will see the opportunity, especially for your career, also for businesses. Like I said, use AI to your benefit. Use AI to enhance what you're already doing. If you look at it from that perspective and you see the opportunities, you will be ahead of a lot of people, a lot of businesses. If you're just sitting there and hoping it will not change anything, you're already behind.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And like I said, the ones that are proactive and smarter about in these industries like writing
Yeah.
or every industry is going to get upended by AI. And it's kind of like basically the creatives or the entrepreneurs are going to find new ways of using it. And really interesting question. How can people find you and follow you and reach out to you and connect with you?
It's just Titanify. Just search Titanify. We're the only ones out there that has this name. So you can find us on all the social platforms. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on our website, titanify.be, because we are from Belgium. Yeah, anywhere that you will find us, you will see some information about what we do. We do our own videos on YouTube as well. So if you want to see some automations happening in real time, you can check that out as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much for coming on and really interesting conversation.
Thank you so much, Christopher, for inviting me. Thank you.